Welcome everyone to our Fisher Flying Products channel. First, we'll do our news from the nest. I'd like to hear from any owners or builders out there who are willing to share their project with us. It's the number one thing that I get asked by our readership and people who contact me is that they want to see more people, other people from all walks and all designs that are building Fisher Flying Products or flying Fisher Flying products. They want to see more. So we have a sheet that we can send out to anyone who's interested in doing a little video interview of their project or their flying aircraft, and a place where you can upload the videos so that we can include you in our newsletter. So please don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll get that sheet out to you. I'm going to give you a little ARIA update. Lionel's been working diligently and he's doing a beautiful job. He's got the horizontal stab, the vertical stab, and the rudder and elevators completed on the ARIA project, and he is working on the tail cone plug. He's changed it a little bit from the original design, but right now he is headlong into doing the controls for the tail, running the cables and whatnot up to the front of the cockpit, and it's a two-stick design, so that we need to be able to run that the control hardware all the way up from the rear cockpit to the front cockpit, and he's doing a great job at that. I just made him a beautiful set of rudder pedals for the aft cockpit, welded them all up, and so we're looking forward to getting those hooked up and see how they work sitting in the aircraft. G1 Aerosports, the SF1, an update on that briefly. It's moving slowly forward. We're right now looking at actually manufacturing this aircraft here in Canada, and so I'm just about to receive the drawings, and so that we can go through and look at a design for manufacturing and manufacturability. And so we're sort of in that process right now with the SF1. And from what Yorgos has told me, the SF2, the two-seater, he's hoping to fly it very shortly. He's just waiting for some weather and some finished work on the cockpits, and he's hoping to fly that really soon. So that's good news. Cozy Carb. We have shipped our first Cozy Carb unit out just actually today, so we're quite happy. The orders have been pouring in, which is great news, and we're putting together our system for packing our boxes and making sure that all of the bits and pieces that come in for that are in the box, and we have a good process in the shop to make sure that we ship it out once and you get what you're looking for, so that's good news. Today's videos, we have Tim Ketcham speaking about his FP-202, his landing gear. He's got it up outside on the table. He's got his protractor out. He's going to be showing us some stuff with that, and he also shows us how to properly tie the bungee cords. So that's going to be interesting. And as usual, Algy Yates brings us his 9th installment of the Youngster tail kit build, and to carry on with that. So he's had more to show you. So I hope you enjoy the videos. This is Fisher Flying Products. I'm Dave Hartner. Welcome to the Nest. Our video newsletters provide weekly insight into building and flying our 15 wooden aircraft designs. Plini Motori of Italy is a gracious sponsor of our channel. Plini is the manufacturer of the Thor 250 DS. Cozy Carb Ice Prevention Systems is a proud sponsor of this channel as well. Please take the time to watch our videos to the end, as this assists us in the metrics that YouTube uses to rate our channel. Hit the like button if you feel that the content is worthy. We invite you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the subscribe button and hitting the bell so that you are notified whenever we post our newsletters.
This video is not going to be about constructing the landing gear, but the prints do not give any dimensions or target points, so I'm going to whip them out and you can just pause this video. I would stack up these two tubes and get them even, and the one hole that goes through equally on both of them is right there, that hinge point. They're 23 and just shy of a quarter. I'd say 23 3/16 is what I got. And 1.5 inches in from that for the cross member. The distance from the furthest bolt in this tube to that bolt is 16.5 inches. Here's where it got confusing, having no dimensions or target points. The drawing, if you laid your protractor on the drawing, it showed 35 degrees for this outer tube, and every photo that I saw of the FP-202 unweighted was 40 degrees, and to make that 35 degrees I would have had to cut almost all of the length on this cross members, these two cross members, a significant amount. As it was, I already cut 1.5 inches off of each one of those tubes, so I assumed it must be 40 degrees right there. So I set both of these tubes up to 40 degrees and did all my calculations here. And I won't tell you what I got for each individual tube, because how you make that up is up to you. But the distance between the two, I got exactly 20 inches from this bolt to that bolt. And the distance for this tube from that bolt to the center line of this bolt is exactly 11 inches for both of them. And the target point that I measure across from that bolt to this bolt is 41 inches. And a lot of people ask about wrapping the bungee. It's really quite simple. Of course, you have to have the whole thing compressed, and you'll compress it as you're wrapping it, so that's not important. But you just drape it over, pull the ends out full length so they're even, so you're starting in the middle, drape it over it, and you just keep going around like this, but you're pulling and you're stretching each time you go around. And on this one, you get, I think it was 6 wraps, whatever it is. You'll come and you'll have some left over. You tie a square knot right here, and then you just tuck, you come up and over, square knot here, and then just tuck your length in here, down through it, and wrap it around. I've never seen them pull loose or come out.
Hi and welcome to the channel. In this episode I finish off the fin by doing the top gusset and rounding the leading edge, and we laminate the bow for the rudder. Okay, so here we are with this gusset that's going to be going across here, and so that everything matches height wise, the joint line there would match that joint line there. So it's just the way I like to keep everything sort of parallel going along. For when it's covered, it'll look nice and smart. I am thinking about doing it in the same format as is on the plan there, so the gusset will go and have an angle going straight across. But from there to, it's not quite straight. You might be able to see there's a gap going on that angle there. So there's got to be a curve at this side. So I'm going to flatten out the end here, and I'm going to use the rib template and draw in the line about a 1/16 inch low here. I'll do the initial routed section as I've done for everywhere else, and then we will look at how I can sort this bit out. I might be able to route some of it and then it'll be just smoothing, but I'll need everything to run so that it's nice and parallel with the leading edge going backwards and forwards. So that's the plan, let's see how we get on.
So here you see I'm marking up, checking everything out. As it turns out, going through with the router, I got the majority of it required very little sanding, but it was quite awkward clamping my jig on to make sure I got a nice even depth, as you can see here.
So I don't know how well it came out on the time lapse, but this is cut here with a curve in it, going down to about here where it's then straight. So if I put the plywood on there, it's quite straight, but if I put it on, you can sort of see there's a gap at the back edge here, so the whole gusset will need to have a flex going into it, which will require a slightly different method of holding everything down for bonding. Okay, different method of doing the gussets. In this case, because of the slope and because of the twist, everything will want to slip and slide everywhere. So I've put in my resin on the joint. There we go. So that's now sitting, but this end wants to sit high. I've just used lollipop sticks, stirring sticks, and I'm going to put a staple across the joint here, like that. I don't need to put a lollipop stick in this part here. You could staple straight into it, but I like using this because it helps when you come to take the staples out. You don't have the marks in there. And then I'm going to use another lollipop stick, and I'm going to be pushing down just to bridge that gap and hold that flat. So, and there it's held in with staples. It's held at the right sort of curve, and we can leave that to set off. A lot of people use staples to hold their aircraft bits together. I'm not so keen. So here we are, taking out the staples. I've taken one out already, and you can see now why I put the plastic coated lollipop stick in. Makes it easy. I can lever. No marks are left through the levering on the wood itself. These two little holes here will be from the staple, quite easy to sort out. I just give this a sand to get rid of the surface glue. Like that. The dust's in the hole already, so I just use some thin sino. Over the holes, then a gentle sand. The holes are filled. Using thin sino allows soaks into the wood, so it gets right into the grain where it might be slightly damaged from the staple going in. The dust is in there, helps to just fill up, and now that's filled. Job to do, job done. Right, so you can sort of see we've got a curve in that gusset on both sides, and that was why I needed to sort of staple it to stop it from slipping when they're clamping it, which we discussed. I've created a template here with the shape for the leading edge. The back edges here should be level with the back of the leading edge strip, and so I can check the profile. So I'm going to be using a plane and sanding to get this to shape. I can't use a router, it's too narrow for my round over bit. Okay then, so I've drawn, I don't know if it sort of shows up, but I've drawn lines either side here and on these faces here, to allow me to cut back to 45 degrees on those, and that way hopefully cut back using a box plane and this mounted on the bench with supports, and get the initial cleanup, and then from there hopefully I should be able to do some sanding. So the basic 45 degree has been cut. It's quite hard work planing through the plywood. You have to run the plane at quite a shallow angle with quite a fine cut, so quite a few passes to get to sort that out. Next section we'll try is sanding. Okay, so the fin is complete. If we move in a little bit closer, you can see that the lines on the plywood where I sanded it, or planed it and sanded it, are reasonably parallel, which shows it's quite flat. One of the ones on the other side isn't as perfect, so there must have been a slight dip or something in the leading edge when I routed it, but it's flat according to the straight edge. And if we look at the leading edge, you can see just the remnants of the pencil line from the rib profile which I drew on the end, and it matches up with my profile checker. So this is complete now, and we're ready to go on to the rudder.
So laminating the bow for the rudder is very much the same as the way I did the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer, where I have the outer section in hardly any resin, just the resin at the joint, and then each laminate that goes on is being resined on one side only. I have a little datum mark on there on some of the laminates, so I can line up and make sure that the steps in the joints are offset an acceptable amount. In point of fact, I've worked to a greater extent than the minimum requirements. The reason I only put resin on one side, as I think I stated on the leading edge bow, is it allows you to expel the air between each of the laminates as you put it on, and there's a sufficient resin to ensure that there's a good bond. Normally you would put resin onto both surfaces to allow it to soak in, and especially onto end grain, you'd put resin on, leave it for a few seconds or so before you attach the two components together. So I'm going through here just applying the resin quite straightforwardly, but you'll see in a bit I'll take a load of the clamps off just so I can get everything lined up absolutely perfectly. So I just noticed that the joint wasn't quite in the right place and it wasn't making the datum. And just getting the final shape, and in this case it's working really from one end to the other, unlike the leading edge bow where I work from the centre out to each end.
Okay, the lamination of the rudder is complete. Down here you should see a series of lines. These are just pencil lines I used to get the different laminates into the correct position so that we have the offset on all the joints. So if you go to the video linked up here, you'll see how I did it on the horizontal stabilizer leading edge. The same principles were applied to this. So I'll sand this down, ready for assembly, and that'll be what we'll do in the next video. Is we'll start looking at some of the different bits in the construction of the rudder, which is a change up from the fin and definitely quite a change up from the rest of the tail plane. So until then, look after yourselves. See you in the next video. Bye now.
Thanks again for watching. We try hard to bring you interesting content each week. To help us out, please like and share our videos if you feel the content is worthy. To receive the latest info from Fisher Flying Products, click the subscribe button and ring the bell. See you next time in the nest.